Did you hear about the Italian chef who died? He passed away. I'm going to talk about timing. People talk a lot about what to say, what's the right way to say things, and how to say them, right? How important it is to have the right intonation and these sorts of things. But people don't talk enough about when. What is the right time to have that conversation that you're dreading? Well, there's two things that I want to talk about here, two different kinds of these conversations. One is when you're addressing, an issue that's come up, something where you can see it. If it keeps progressing, it's gonna irritate you more. It's gonna become more and more of a problem. Like, let's say the dishes aren't washed or something like that, and you expected them to be, or it's reasonable to expect them to have been washed by whoever used them. The right time to address this is as soon as possible. Now, that is, of course, within reason. You need to use your judgment. So let's take this situation. Oh my gosh, I'm having the worst day. I lost my earrings. I missed my train, so I was late for work. I lost the project. I might lose my job. Oh, that's terrible. Hey, you forgot to wash your dishes today. I really want to talk to you about this. What the hell? Why would you bring that up now? This guy from the internet named Ian told me that I should talk about these sorts of things as early as possible. What? Who is this idiot Ian? This is not how things would go down, ideally, because I don't want to get in trouble with whoever your partner is. The best time is as soon as possible when the person is in a decent mood. Why? Well, the longer that you put off talking about something that has the makings of a problem, the more likely you are to act out your frustration over it, right? If you don't talk about it, you're gonna act about it. You're gonna turn it into behaviors because you can't hold that stuff inside. And if you find a way to hold it inside, it's just gonna turn into other problems for you, like lower back pain from stress and these sorts of things. You don't want that to happen. The other issue is that the longer you put it off, the more likely it is that when you do talk about it, you're going to be emotional and you're going to be irrational and you're going to have trouble staying objective and delivering, your message in a way that allows you to communicate your concern respectfully and find sort of shared purpose, and also to hear where the other person is coming from. So you want to deal with it as soon as is reasonable. This lag time between when an issue begins and when somebody addresses it, somebody brings it up, is one of the most powerful predictors of team performance, right? So a team that's able to talk about these things quickly, right, will have much better performance. Another aspect of this is that once you get good at dealing with conflict, once conflict can become a constructive activity that strengthens your relationship, the earlier you talk about things, you're keeping up the practice. So if you go a long time without having a conflict, then you're not practicing constructive conflict for all of that time, right? Whereas if you're able to bring things up when they come up originally, right, you're keeping the practice fresh. And you're also taking advantage. If you're actually able to make the conflicts constructive, you're taking advantage of these opportunities to improve the relationship through constructive conflict. Here's the other kind of conversation that you might have, or communication that you might have. And for this one as well, the timing should be as soon as possible. But this one doesn't depend quite as much on the other person's mood, and that is feedback. So this is simpler feedback, like especially when you're dealing with your kids, right? And you're trying to help them learn something, you're trying to coach them into acquiring some new skill or something like that. Well, the more quickly you can deliver the feedback following the behavior about which the feedback is being, provided, the more easy it will be for the receiver of the feedback to adjust, right? Now, one reason why behavior change is so freaking difficult is because often the the complexity of the lives we live means that when you engage in a behavior, the feedback associated with that behavior is really separated from it by a whole span of time, and so it's very difficult for us to associate the feedback to the behavior in anything more concrete, in a more concrete way. It becomes very abstract, very conceptual. Like, I know that this feedback is about that behavior, but you don't feel it. It's not visceral, right? Like if you touch a hot stove, the action, behavior, and feedback are so closely connected and so visceral that it only takes one time to learn the new behavior. So if you can connect the feedback and the behavior in terms of time, as closely as possible, you're going to really make that feedback much more powerful, much more effective. And this doesn't need to be feedback where where you're making a whole lot of judgments. Something as simple as saying, you did it, right? When it's done correctly, you did it. Okay, is great reinforcing feedback. When you're providing, constructive feedback of some sort, it's important to point out specifically what the person could do, what they could do differently, and then if possible to have them practice the new way of doing it as quickly as possible, right? So they just practice the wrong way to do something. You've given them feedback, but if they don't implement it, then all they've done is practice the wrong way. Whereas if you can give them the feedback and then have them implement the feedback right away, at least one time, because then, they've got a wrong way practice and then one right way practice. That's the same amount of practice both ways. But 2 or 3 or 4 times or however many times seems appropriate. Thanks so much for watching. If you put your questions in the comments, I'll get back to you. Please like and subscribe if you found this video at all helpful. And remember, you're already someone's hero. Now you get to earn it. So, go be super.